now sitting at the Wavetable.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the Wavetable podcast. This episode is featuring Skitzoid. He produces some brutal dubstep, but his recent tune Trenched is an absolute banger of a tearout D&B style tune influenced by some brutal bass design. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for the intro. As Ben said, my name's Skitzoid, aka Matt. And yeah, I just like to produce, as Ben said, heavy dubstep, tear out and whatnot. But looking forward to talking production and let's get into it.
Hell yeah. So what exactly inspired you to make that most recent track, Trenched?
I'd say it would be Midnight Tyrannosaurus. He's produced a couple of tunes at like 175 that just, I don't know, they just hit completely different to everything else, as Midnight Tyrannosaurus tends to do. But, and then, yeah, I've been recently listening to a lot of HeadX and those classic sort of jump up drum and bass artists, Mackie G and whatnot. But, other than that, it was sort of just an idea that me and my mate came up with one night. We should, that heavy tear out bass, but at, 175. And we're like, yes, like, let's do it. And Trenched Up was born, or Trenched.
Fuck yeah. Definitely a sick combo, man. It's like everything I've ever wanted out of the combination of drum and bass and dubstep. I think, to be honest, I was trying to do stuff like that a while ago, but like before I had anywhere near the skills to be able to pull it off. So I'm glad someone did it well.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Hopefully, I need to sort of send it around a bit more to sort of just get it into more ears, as you do, as you always do. But
how many plays does it hit so far, Roundabouts?
I think it's only just coming on to the 200 mark, but in terms of the like to play ratio and interaction engagement was, almost banking at like 50 to 60%, which is pretty unreal in terms of consistent engagement, which was really cool. But it's interesting because it was a drum and bass / jump up track. I sort of have never had to market that kind of track, so it's a completely different audience. But and in saying that, it was more an experimental tune, so finding my footing in terms of marketing has been interesting, to say the least. Yeah,
for sure. I was hearing that D&B is kind of making a comeback this year, but I haven't really seen the outcome of that. Have you been following that at all?
See, it's interesting because I come from that old school day of like noisier drum and bass and just a lot of that older stuff, which I don't know. I personally don't know who to listen to these days for it. So in terms of like my local scene, before COVID, it was starting to get quite a big rise in terms of just events and participation in those events, which has been interesting. But yeah, as a scene, I haven't seen too much fluctuation yet. Hopefully it picks up.
Well, like, I guess maybe COVID just kind of fucked it over, but hopefully it comes back up again once COVID kind of goes away. Pretty much.
Well, I know in the UK, drum and bass is massive. Through people I know over there, they've said that the drum and bass scene over there is just, and that's where a lot of the greats of drum and bass do seem to be coming from, or even just the heavy hitters now. So hopefully, we get some new talent coming up from other places to bring the scene and the genre a bit more hype.
Yeah, I really miss hearing drum and bass stuff. What kind of synths do you use? Like, is it pretty much just Serum, or do you mess around with Phaseplant and other stuff? Or?
I'd have to say I'm more of an audio man myself.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
I do a lot of my original sound design in synthesizer, mainly Serum, of course, but been using a lot of Phaseplant, and I need to get Massive again. But yeah, after I get a core sound through those, I tend to resample into audio because it's just has so much more application for me personally. Like, I'm sure there's, sometimes I'll even take my resample and put it back into the wavetable oscillator in Serum and go and just do stuff like that. I find the scene's been so busy with sound design, and everyone's stepped up their game so much in the last couple of years. And to be honest, the scene's kind of just a sound design pissing contest at the moment. So it's my way of trying to keep up with things. You're just experimenting and audio, because you can see exactly when it's happening too. I find MIDI gives you a lot of unhearable delay and some different transients come through. So I like to get to audio and just see exactly when the sound is playing its sound and when it's not.
Yeah, I think MIDI can be quite deceiving, because a lot of the times I'll be hearing like all these tails and I'll want to chop them out, and I'll have to go through like every single track, chuck a utility on there, automate the volume to 0 and shit. But it's just like, if that's all just audio, you can just see it and then fade it out and easy done.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it gives you a bit more control over the sound, like instead of changing LFO shapes and envelopes, you can just sort of work with the fading and whatnot to get a completely sort of different tonality, or even just envelope almost from fade modulation and whatnot.
Yeah. And beat mode in the warp modes is amazing, because a lot of times people will be like, oh, I need a transient designer to make this sound, give it more attack. But if you just chuck on beat mode and then whatever the 1 arrow option is and just lower it just like the attack is just so fucking nice.
And that whole audio warp processing that Ableton has, like all of the modes I tend to actually play with. Maybe repitch not so much, but texture and tones, they just have these really cool tonalities that they bring out. And like some of the gnarliest sustains are made out of like some crazy delayed processed audio sample that just drags out, and it just so that's why I tend to work in audio myself as well, because Ableton's processing of audio just has I'm not too sure if Fruity Loops has the same compatibility, but yeah, that's personally why I use Ableton.
I think Fruity Loops has definitely stepped it up, but I don't think it's as easy as it is in Ableton. And speaking of texture mode, if anyone ever wants some like really cool alien sounding vocals, just try texture mode.
yeah, it's great for our vocals as well, which is always nice to play with.
So so your basses, so I guess the start of it would be synthesize something and then turn it into audio, but then mixing them, I was wondering what you do to get them to sound so fucking thick.
Well, I suppose after the core sound is there, then a lot of post-processing to bring out those real different and sort of warm characters, which just tend to fill out that spectrum. And then generally I'll actually duplicate the channel and have them hitting on the 2 different octaves and just EQ the frequencies into each other. But with my mix down, I tend to I don't do much mastering on my tracks. My mix down tends to be my master, and I generally just go with my ear, just what sounds good. I find that that's just always the best way to gauge something in terms of a mix, is like, all right, well, when I listen to this, is something sounding really out? Is something super loud? And yeah, I just keep it super basic, because when I first started producing, there was a lot of talk of how mix down and mastering are these 2 big walls that you really have to overcome. And to be honest, I think people overcomplicate it a little bit.
Yeah.
In like they build it up, and then people do go, oh my god, it's this massive thing, and it's like, no, just use your ears, and maybe a second opinion will always help, because of listener's ear and whatnot. But just rely on your own ears, and if it sounds clean and fat, then it's probably clean and fat.
Yeah, I remember I pretty much fell victim to that. Like, I was on a bunch of Reddit servers and Discord servers and all that shit. Just producers talking about how complicated mixing and mastering is. Like, you need to have serial compression, these different limiters set to all different attack times and shit. And then at the end of the day, my fucking mastering chain now is just like a soft limiter and a soft clipper and then a limiter. Like,
yeah, man. Yeah, me too. I just throw it into a hard clip or a soft clip and I just mix to ear. But because I throw it on at the start. But it's interesting because in dubstep, you know, you go back to 2012, 13 era. When you look at a waveform, it's not just this big fat rectangle. And I think, to be honest, like, I was such a purist when I first started, and I was like, no, like, you know, there's no dynamics. There's just like so many, you know, frequencies that are getting mudded out. You know, it's if you conceive the waveform, it's probably nice and clean. And over the years, it's just become this cheesed out. You know, people like it loud, and it sounds good loud. So if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's still possible to have it clean and loud at the same time. Like, with the whole dubstep thing, it kind of needs to have that loudness to also have the grit that goes with dubstep. Because whenever you use a preset from a preset pack, it just sounds too clean, right? And then so if you don't do that loudness on your master chain, your whole tune just kind of sounds like a preset tune in a way.
Yeah, and in this day and age, that's like, you know, a big no-no. Like, presets are there and samples are there for people to do exactly what they're supposed to do, you know? Like, you write a track with them, but like I was saying before, the whole sound design pissing contest has turned it into this purist form where it's like, do not touch like anyone else's sounds, you know, which in some sense I can appreciate, because, you know, you sink a lot of time into that sound, and then someone just sort of uses the same thing. But it's, I don't know, people are very down the middle with that. It's very black and white.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to kind of grasp, I guess, but I think taking inspiration from the individual sounds within songs is fine, but then trying to replicate someone's entire style, like, not only is it like ripping them off, it's also just probably not going to get you anywhere, because you're doing what's already been done rather than pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's funny, like, some people take quite a big insult to, like, oh, this sounds like, you know, Tramper, or this sounds like Mastodon, or, you know, Marauder. And I feel like, you know, it's a very hard thing to gauge what, you know, the underlying you know, meaning behind that is, you know, is it like, oh crap, am I on this person's level, or am I, you know, ripping their stuff, and am I going to be a knockoff of, you know, Mastodon or whatever? So, but, you know, with how much accessibility there is to these heavy hitting synthesizers, you know, everyone's got the same tools at their disposal now. So it's, you know, the possibilities, while endless, are also very oversaturated now, which is why I think there's this new thirst for a new synthesizer like Phaseplant to really change things, which is going to be really exciting once it really becomes the main tool for everyone to use.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I was thinking that when it first came out, but then since it came out, I've been doing a lot of more post-processing and more audio processing. So I feel like the synth doesn't matter as much as a lot of people think it does. Like, I was watching the Code Pandora artist workshop on Defier, and he used like one or two wavetables in Phaseplant, but then like the rest of it was just sine waves and then filters and distortion. Like, and Phaseplant doesn't even have that many filter options. Like, the filters aren't anywhere near as crazy as Serum.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's still that clean functionality of Serum that Phaseplant doesn't have. Like, their LFOs and stuff, like, you can't, like, if the LFO envelope's open, you can't even hear the sound. Like, you can't manipulate that seamlessly, and it's very you know, when you use an LFO on Serum, it's very in time and very easy to see when it starts and when it's finished. But on Phaseplant, I feel like it doesn't have that crisp, concise, like, I don't know, coding, I guess, to just really be that clean. But in that sense, synthesizing or synthesis design is no easy field. I don't know anything about it, so to be fair, they've done well.
I think the UI could be a bit nicer and a bit more sleek, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm sure in time they'll do some overhauls and become a staple in the market. I think they already are. I mean,
definitely their other plugins are, for sure. Like, their other plugins are massive.
Their disperser is I use that in every track. It's such a good plugin.
But yeah, so talking of plugins, have you updated Serum to the latest version?
I actually probably should check my updates on Serum, because I kind of just open and go.
Right.
I probably haven't seen the new update. How long ago did it come out?
I think a week or two. I was just going to bring up the fact that you can automate the points on LFOs now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's fucking sick.
I am going to have to suss that straight after this. Yeah, no, that's sick.
Yeah. So, and this is like my last question about your track. We kind of got away from your track, but I just want to go back to it just for this one. Whenever I hear breaks, like obviously any DNB tune, but also dubstep with breaks and stuff, I always wonder, it's kind of like the age-old what sidechaining method do you use question. But this is your breaks. Did you program them or sample them?
With my breaks, because I use a lot of buses so I have a bus for my tops and all of that, and generally with a lot of my breaks, I'll have no side chaining at all, and I'll just have like toms and whatnot just mixed to taste, and generally they are just a lot of samples just thrown in, like small toms, small snares and hi-hats, because using Contact software for drums is expensive. So unfortunately that's, but I'd love to get into Contact and get some, drum samplers that are really acoustic and real, and do some really unique fills. But right now I'm sort of stuck with just audio, old samples from Splice and crate digging to find something fresh. But I try and avoid like pre-done samples as much as I can, like full fills, because they generally are just the generic pattern that was done 2 years ago. So finding I think it's my track Peculiar actually has some really sort of, I don't know, just clean acoustic organic sounding fills, which I personally spent a lot of time on. And drums I think are a bit underestimated in dubstep. Like they like not just the kick and the snare, but just the little acoustic percussions that you can add just to make it a bit more organic.
Yeah, it's really nice to have just some organic drums every now and then, at like the end of a phrase or something, to break things up a bit. I know obviously Phase 1, it's metal drums, but he uses drums a lot in his tunes to break things up, and it's really nice.
Oh, he's definitely probably one of the best in terms of drum work, in my opinion. Hell yeah. I've got a long way to go to try and even get close to what that man can do.
I think for me, I've always struggled with kind of programming organic drum fills, just because there's so many samples out there for breaks and stuff. And I guess the reason I got into bass design is because everyone was like, yo, you have to come up with like the new sounds, you have to make new basses, you can't just use presets and shit. But no one was ever like, oh, you can't use break samples. That's like, everyone just uses break samples. So I never felt the need to program them, and it just takes a long time to really learn how to make it feel natural, I guess. So I really respect you for like putting in the time to learn how to do that.
Oh, I think I still have a long way to go, but in the same sense, it's nice to hear that it's. I guess in some senses too, like if you've done a good enough job, like people will probably not be able to tell the difference. So it's more of that personal sort of win where it's like, yeah, like that's my programming and that's my, my design of these sounds that I've made myself. That's more of a personal gratification, but yeah, long way to go.
Yeah, it just makes you like more proud of your work. And then, so you said you wanted to like use more plug-in drums, but Contact is really heavy on the CPU and stuff. Have you ever thought about like Superior Drummer or anything like that?
I suppose, well, in the past I have thought about it, but that's something down the line because, so far for me this year, my main goal is to be getting music that sort of is up to just the general standard that everyone's at, and to a point I had a bit of an epiphany a while ago where I was like, I feel like I'm always trying to write music that other people will like, and I think you can't approach it that way. Well, to a degree, like you need to be making music that you like because that's why we make music, and in that sense your own originality gets put into that track and people sort of flock to that originality, which is hence why I've sort of been focusing on that aspect rather than more of that technical side. But down the line I think that's probably my next move, is to really hone in on my drum work now that my synthesis and whatnot is where I want it to be now. Yeah, getting the drums up. Cool.
For anyone at home that wants to make drum fills and shit, there's plenty of non-contact drum plugins. Like there's one I use called Perfect Drums. It's really good for metal style of stuff. And then Easy Drummer is just like a cheaper, simpler version of Superior Drummer. And then there's obviously the Contact stuff that Matt was mentioning, but Contact is a bitch.
Yeah, it's very expensive as well, but I guess you get what you pay for. That's for sure. Because I have used them before, and they're really quality.
So, what kind of stuff are you just listening to in general recently? I feel like people might be moving away from the rages at the moment because of Corona.
Yeah, well, I think like me personally, I've been listening to not even dubstep as much lately. Like I still listen to a lot of stuff as I'm not sure if many people are aware, but I actually am vice president of Dub Wubz Promotions, so we have been releasing a lot of music, also an upcoming release from yourself, wink wink.
Yeah.
And we're really focusing on finding some new original music, so I still listen to a lot of dub through that, but I've been listening to a lot of my own personal sort of taste in music, which is a lot of like Billy Joel, Green Day, just Blink, those old classics from back when you're a teenager, and your parents' music. Just because with Corona and everything, me personally, I was very unaffected by Corona, so
that's good.
had work every day and everything, so my schedule didn't really change too much, so I wasn't really moving away from the heavy rages too much. But I've also been getting down to a lot of lo-fi.
Yes.
My mate, or the boy Oddcub, he's been writing heaps of fucking sick lo-fi. I think everyone should go check him out.
What was his name again?
Oddcub.
Check him out.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know this. I was listening to the Mr. Bill podcast like a week ago or something. And apparently there's lo-fi artists on Spotify that just get millions of plays and just make a living just from that. Like, no one knows their name because they're just on Spotify mood playlists, but the amount of plays they get is just money. It's crazy.
Well, I guess that's the perks of Spotify playlisting, and I feel like lo-fi is very, very listener-friendly music. Like, I feel like 90% of the people that hear a good lo-fi track are like, yeah, this is cool. Like, even if they don't, really fuck with EDM or anything, just because it's hip hop influenced, but it's got that, old sort of almost 80s swing vibe because of the low fidelity of the vocals. But I wouldn't mind getting into some lo-fi as well, just getting on those mood playlists and racking up some plays.
Yeah. I've got 1 or 2 lo-fi tunes that I'm working on, but they're pretty low priority because I want to do my main stuff first.
Yeah.
So you kind of glossed over Dub Wubz. Do you want to promote that and kind of let people know what it's all about and,
Yeah, for sure. So, my mate Kai, aka Terraform, he's probably known by a few of the listeners. He's been killing the game for a while now. He actually signed me for a release, our third release, or his third release on Dub Wubz, and I actually put my hand up and said, "Hey, do you want a hand running things?" Because me personally, from my work career, I've done quite a bit of business, stuff in terms of just supply, demand, and logistics and business development, whatnot. So I applied a lot of that, and we're basically just looking for fresh artists who are just creating original music that they love and support, and you can sort of feel a bit of emotion and just the hard work in. So even though it's still dubstep, you can tell when someone's taken the time on a track.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's been a very interesting experience because me personally, I've been always very hesitant with giving feedback because it's like, I've got 500 followers on SoundCloud, will my opinion really matter to you so much? But when you're on the label side of things, you're the curator, so you sort of, when you do have to turn someone down, it's been a very new side to the music industry for myself, which has taken some time to adjust to because, I like to always be positive and, try and give people good news, not bad news.
Yeah.
So, but we're basically just looking for people to bring us music and we'll release it, market it. And, we've just moved into our Spotify and we're going to be moving into Beatport. We're on iTunes, Apple Music, all the major services. We've just done up contracts just to make sure everyone's on the same page and just legitimize everything. And I'd say in about 6 months' time, we'll be really where we want to be and running and releasing a lot of really, really cool music. We've got some great music in the pipeline at the moment too, which, everyone should keep their eyes out for. So Dub Wubz Promotions, DWP.
Yeah. I saw Kai's post on Facebook today. It definitely seems like you're on a good trajectory with the whole label.
Yeah, we're banking on 10,000 plays, and we sort of started up around February, I think this year, or February, March. We just released a track from one of Brisbane's big up-and-comers, Vector. That raked in 1,000 plays in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
So, but yeah, me and Kai are still sort of learning this side of the industry, which, as an artist, you have some understanding and just common sense knowledge, but, the technical side of things is a lot more in-depth. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, which really has been eye-opening.
Yeah, all the writing and organizing and other things that I can't even imagine.
Yeah, just, I think the big one's just consistent content because,
right.
There's unlimited content out there for you to try and release, but there's so many other factors like, do you like the content? Is the content good? Does the content maker want to be on board with a release with us? So, with all of those, it's been really good though, hearing a lot of new artists who are, on that ambitious streak where they're just trying to get music out there, and we've come across some really talented people.
Speaking of content, you guys are on Insta, Facebook. Are you on Twitter and TikTok?
I believe our distribution doesn't reach to TikTok just yet. Me personally, I don't use TikTok at all. To be honest, I haven't really looked into it, so I'm probably sleeping. I don't know. It is a popular app, but yeah, in terms of Instagram, Facebook, we've just started getting on with Twitter too. Like, I don't know, I think it might be an Australian thing, but like I don't know anyone who uses Twitter in my sort of personal friends group.
It's
like,
not that popular here.
Yeah, but unfortunately, like it is a whole another world of the scene that is untapped if you're not on it. But yeah, I've never found the platform that engaging or anything. But apparently it's the place to be.
Yeah, I think just as a Gary V viewer, I feel like I have to just kind of tell everyone to, if you have the opportunity to make a free account on a social media platform and post content there for free, it doesn't hurt to do it. Like, even if it's just the same thing as you're posting on Insta and Facebook, it's still just free opportunity for fans and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a good way to think.
So, how do you normally go about starting a track?
Oh, that's an interesting question. To be honest, it's sometimes I work on just like some basic sound design. It really depends on like where I'm at, but I suppose I'll start with a bass sound and just sort of that'll just set the overtone for the rest of the track, you know. And a lot of the times I'll rewrite the drop over and over, but yeah, sometimes I'll go in with a theme or a vocal sample already because I've heard it on some show or something. I'm like, oh, that's sick, and then I'll throw it into Ableton and go from there. I'm trying to sort of move into remixing a bit more and expanding on other people's ideas because it's sort of a different avenue. It's a new realm I haven't really delved into.
Are you doing any of those Disciple remixes?
Yes, I actually just finished a No Mercy remix, Dirty Phonics.
Dope.
So I'm really excited about that one actually. I've put a lot of time into it and I haven't heard too many No Mercy remixes either. Everyone's remixing Ball Liquor.
Wait, really? Ball Liquor? I thought... Yeah,
Murder's track Ball Liquor. I have seen probably at least 10 to 20 just like organically come up in my feed. Yeah, it's crazy.
I strategically chose to remix that one because it had one of the lowest play counts.
Nice. That's a good tactic. Yeah, no, like Heavy Kill. I heard another one today by Decay, I think his name was, and it was, that's a very heavy hitting tune. But it's interesting, this remix, because it's very public and it's got a lot to do with how much traffic and stuff you get on it, which, you know, is kind of daunting in a sense.
Oh, is it one of those where the more plays you get and stuff, the higher chance you have of winning?
I think so. Like, it's your submission is public, and like the rules say, you know, share it around, and even though the original artist, you know, decides whose it is, there's still that marketing side, because I think Disciple are, you know, obviously doing what they can to gain more reach for their own content, which is but I'm excited to put that one out. I'll probably be putting that out this week sometime.
Sick. Yeah, I should finish mine off as well as soon as possible if plays have anything to do with it. I don't think it's plays too much, because someone, you know, had like 5 or 10,000 plays on a track but like no engagement, because they've just, you know, obviously sent it in for a play or whatever on, you know, 10,000 plays for $5-10, but I don't think it's too focused on that, but I think it's just their way of like, okay, everyone gets some following, even if you don't win, you've sort of, you know, released a track and gotten a bit of a following. So I think it's pretty cool what they're doing. Well, if engagement might help a bit, then I might have to go and do the thing I was doing when I first spoke to you, which so I joined Defier Society near the start of this year-ish, and you were part of it. Are you still part of Defier?
Yeah, I'm still floating around in there. I don't utilize it as much as I should.
Yeah, same. Like, I really need to get into the feedback streams. But yeah, how I found you was, I was just like, literally going through the member list of the Defier group and messaging every single person, and like,
really?
Yeah, I was just like trying to make friends with as many people in Defier as I could, and like try to provide value to them by giving feedback or following them and whatever. So I think that might be a good way to get some engagement on my remix and have it look good for the Disciple competition. Because when I was doing that, there was 1 or 2 tracks that I was sending to people, because we'll just like exchange tracks, give feedback, give follows, etc. And then those 2 tracks ended up with a bunch more comments than the rest of my tracks. So if anyone out there is just looking for free engagement, free comments, just pretty much just talk to producers and make friends with them. And yeah.
Yeah, I should definitely take that advice on board, but I'm very weird on social media. Like I'm not the biggest user of it. Like I use it to market my stuff, but I'm a lurker, as they say. I should reach out to more people, because I've met, you know, some really, really amazing people through music, and they reached out to me. So I probably should definitely take a page from your book and just start messaging people.
Yeah, I'm definitely a lurker by nature myself, but then kind of just that branding, marketing gear in my brain turned, and it was just like, all right, fuck my natural state. Like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much gonna wrap us up. Is there anything that you would like to mention or shout out before we finish?
My only other shout out would have been DWP. Like, and again, if anyone's chasing anyone to sort of just release their music or even a bit of feedback or whatever, be sure to give us a message. Our email or whatever is all over our socials. And obviously check out Skitzoid.
Hell yeah.
I've got a whole bunch of new music. I've actually got a showcase mix of about 15 or 16 new originals that I haven't really shared before. So yeah, I'm going to drop that, and and then we're probably going to, I've been pushing that back just with everything that's going on in the world, keeping my socials just quiet, but I don't know, it's also, struggle with content.
Yeah.
But definitely keep an eye out for that, and other than that, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, likewise, man.
All right, thanks for viewing. Fuck. Thanks for watching, guys. That was the Wavetable episode 2. Looking forward to hearing your feedback, and I'll see you next week. Peace.